Oh boy. Boy. I remember back when I used to play Dueling Network. Let me see. Alright, now that that's done. Prevention star. Cuts a monster you control if it was changed from a face attack position. Select one monster opponent controls that monster cannot attack or change battle position. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to, you know what? We'll hang him there. Unless she pops to fuck off. Pretty much, we're gonna have to just power over. I remember my first time seeing Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Or well, I should say, when it was released. God, I remember that because of, like, Crimson Dragon and all that. Pretty nice time. Because I guess apparently the Crimson Dragon wasn't really owned by the people that made 5Ds. Or at least the name, not at least, or whatever. The name at least. And for the longest time, we didn't have a Crimson Dragon card. And then we did get one, but technically speaking, it wasn't the Crimson Dragon. It's just called Zolkin, which isn't really a cool name. I mean, it is cool in its own right, but it just doesn't fit, at least how I feel. It doesn't fit. For the card to be called in the anime, the Crimson Dragon. I don't know about the manga, it might be called Zolkin. Might not. But I think the Crimson Dragon fit a lot better. Especially for like any sort of like English translation at least. Yeah, we're gonna win this anyway. I didn't think, I thought that maybe I'd just brick. So in another video, I explained some core fundamentals of the basics of the game. And with a lot of this older, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff, like, yeah, in 5Ds, there was a change in this kind of progression. I guess you'd call it progression, or maybe not progression. Ooh, sorry, I just yawned there. there was a recurring theme in the very early Yu-Gi-Oh! Where pretty much whoever has the stronger monsters wins. And when I say stronger monsters, I mean attack-wise. So, the reoccurring theme of that is get big beefy monster and you win. Unless you're running an Exodia deck or something, or some kind of deck with a win condition. Like any win condition of any sort that isn't like punch in and automatically win kind of deal. Whatever. But yeah, big beefy monster wins the game. So for the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, as I said, sorry, I just gotta get back on track. I lost my train of thought here. But original Yu-Gi-Oh, big beefy monster wins the race. So that means is Mr. Seto Kaiba wasn't really too bad as much as the anime would make it seem, because he played during a time that the game was full of either you have big beefy monster that attacks in for a lot, or has some kind of win condition card like Exodia. Getting all the 5 pieces in hand, you automatically win the game. At least for that round, because an actual Yu-Gi-Oh game is played, which I guess I should have explained that. An actual Yu-Gi-Oh game is played as a match, best 2 of 3, and it goes by, like, I mean, I guess what you'd consider them games or rounds. A lot of people call them games. Like game 1, game 2. Round 1, round 2. In the video games, it's usually just played as one and done, as I'd call it. Because that's how it is in like the anime. But in actual games, it's played as a match, as I said. Best 2 of 3. So, usually, back then in those days, 8,000 life points, played as a match, try and get big beefy monster out on field, and then swing in for game practically, because there weren't too many spell and trap cards that you see like that we have nowadays back then. Sorry, I just had to send a few messages there. So, big beefy monster, blah blah blah. win the game. God. I explained about the match stuff. Blah blah blah. Okay, now to get to what I was gonna talk about, if I can even remember what that was. Oh yeah, progressions. So pretty much, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX comes out after Yu-Gi-Oh! The original, I know, whatever, don't meme me to death. Because I'm getting somewhere with this. You would see that in GX it was different. It was more like, there was more of a fusion monster kind of progression, sort of, loop going on, if you want to call it a loop, a progression, or like relying upon this or that, because fusion monsters were getting lots of support. So with that, fuck, I need to get everything that can help me right now. So pretty much, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX sort of broke away from the whole loop of, oh, I depend on big beefy monster. Well, instead of just depending on a big beefy monster, you can now play a big beefy monster, but it's a lot easier to summon. You've got more effects to work off of here, like actual card effects, releasing lots of support, spell and trap card wise, as long as monster wise too, as well as monster wise, I should say. Lots of stuff going on here, lots of new stuff. So Yu-Gi-Oh! GX broke away from Yu-Gi-Oh! The original series. Like, the play is a lot different. There are more different rules sort of implemented. It got more refined. Well, getting to 5Ds, what I'm playing right now, and it releases a new game mechanic . It releases a new game mechanic, a new summoning mechanic, so to speak, summoning, so to speak, that is, a new card, like card type, well, I should say monster card type, and it really refined, I feel 5Ds really refined a lot of the rules of, well, the game itself. I feel like the 5Ds era, the game grew a lot more, I mean immensely a lot more, but there were still many issues with card rulings and game mechanics overall. That pretty much what I'm saying is card effects trumping the game mechanics. Like how this game works as a whole. Well, certain card effects tend to break the rules and other things like that. So, I feel 5Ds helped this game as a whole learn and grow. Because this game had been suffering a lot from broken card rulings and mechanics. So I feel 5Ds, towards the end at least, really helped refine things. And then help it grow from there, and then you get the Zexal, which, once again, we're seeing like a pattern here. Each new series releases something new, a new game mechanic, a new ruling, a new card type, etc., and it refines the game more, which I think is cool. So, Zexal. Pretty much, long story short, releases XZ cards. So, up to this point, we have, for extra deck monsters, for at least the monster types, we have Fusion, Synchro, and then, you guessed it, XZ, as I said. So, XZs get released, game gets fixed more, and now no longer do we see really this repeating factor of real big beefy monsters like what was relied upon in original Yu-Gi-Oh! Fuck. I fucked that up. I didn't activate an effect. But anyways. Each new series is, in a sense, refining the game more and helping it grow and ultimately get better. As crappy as some formats have been, it was us as players that set the bar, so to speak. Set the expectations, we set the limitations. Our conception, not conception, but what we conceive as meta in each different format, like what the most used deck is, but not just deck, but maybe, well, play style. So to speak, respectively, whatever you want to say. Fuck, I just lost my train of thought. You see big changes that come about because of, yeah, that's right, the community and what the community's gone through, what they deem is too OP versus what they deem isn't OP enough, etc. OP meaning overpowered. So a big problem I noticed in the game, I know that I sound like I'm just rambling and getting off topic, but I'm making big connections here. A big thing I noticed about this game as a whole, playing it competitively, playing it at the local tournaments and stuff I did, we, the community, controlled everything we pretty much did, ban list, etc. And it was up to us what was truly getting hit and what wasn't getting hit by ban lists. we set the standards of the game, but people let that get too ahead of them, and soon we start to have this problem of like lots and lots of complaining amongst people. Lots of people complaining. There are many decks that are yeah, this is when Dark Signers, okay. But oh boy, Sayer. Pretty much a big thing with the community is we stray away from the original Yu-Gi-Oh series where big beefy monster wins the race. Go into GX where fusion monsters become more of a thing, where it's not as much, hey, big beefy monsters winning the game, more like, okay, well, this fusion monster has this effect that can overcome this big beefy monster, or this effect monster has an effect that ultimately trumps these older decks. So with each new series brings forth new meta, so to speak, in the game. What's considered good and what's considered not good. That is if you're playing competitively. But reason I'm getting into the community is because there's a huge problem with the community. The problem is that a lot of people that play in the competitive scene are casual players. Players that play the game for fun, so to speak. At least that's what I consider it, fun. I say I guess I shouldn't say for fun, but casual players because they go into this competitive setting with the mindset that their casual deck is good enough to defeat the current meta in what is classified as, well, good and top of the game. So flash forward to a little bit before this current like format, because each different like series is like a different format. A format pretty much is what's top of the game for however many months until new ban list. Each ban list that's released is a format. So a lot of casual players play this game, but they try to play it on a competitive level, and it doesn't work because this is the kind of game where you either run the tier 1 deck of the current format, if not run the meta deck itself, or you lose. Because sorry if I'm getting a little sidetracked. But I was saying, um, these casual players that have casual decks playing in the current competitive scene. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, like I said, pretty much you're playing either the meta, if you're playing competitive, or at least the tier 1, if not a rogue deck that can keep up. If not, any other deck, if you don't run any of those specific decks in the tier list, then what you're running is either a tier. A lot of people like to say that this is a thing in the game, but I mean, I accept it. You're either running tier 1.5 or below. Which I know sounds probably confusing, but the game works based off of, at least in the competitive scene, it works off of a tier list of which deck is top of the game, and then the one under that, and then however many else under that. So, knowing this, you can only understand the struggle of the game so much, already having bad mechanics, etc., and currently being in development of trying to get better versus people bitching, whining, and moaning that are really not just... Like, there are even competitive players that are, like, guilty of this, but... A big problem that I seen was either casual players that would come into the game, think that they're hot shit, only to get wrecked by whatever's tier 1, and they don't fully understand. They don't fully understand what is the strong deck and how to win. So, these people make up actually a good majority, from what I understand, a good majority of the community for that. Ah, he is the guy that I want because he has the telekinetic stuff, the psychic stuff. So a good majority of these players come in, lose horribly, and then they take to social media outlets, and let me tell you, they bitch about everything. You will see whole forums dedicated to bitching about how competitive Yu-Gi-Oh's trash. Things are too OP, things need to be nerfed, things need to this, that, blah, blah, blah. And let me tell you how annoying it gets when you're playing a certain deck that you like a lot, only for it to be hit multiple times by the ban list because people don't want to take the time to actually learn the game. And get good. Like, just genuinely get good. But gosh, why do I have to suffer because a certain person can't play a game? Now when it comes to competitive players, an increasingly big problem I see is a problem amongst, say, a big problem that I notice is in the competitive scene for the competitive players. Sorry, I just got a little sidetracked. There were too many people that played competitively that were absolute bots. Didn't know how to handle the game and couldn't process things. Couldn't process simple things as to how to get over certain decks that they're facing against. And they're the ones that are building these top tier decks, yet can't seem for the life of them be able to overcome anything that either mirrors what they're playing or is the other top meta deck, so to speak. Yeah, I need that. So they also would take to these forums and talk about how BS the game is and how broken it is. How no one can ever get over these kinds of decks. And this increasing problem leads to certain things such as emergency ban list and or certain cards getting hit in the next ban list that maybe you might like. That might help a lot. It can get pretty tiring when you're having a nice old time in the game and this whole nice old time you're having, you think, alright, sorry for getting a little sidetracked. You're thinking, alright, well, I built this deck, I put a crap ton of money, because in order to build the meta deck, you need to be OP. Not OP, you need to drop lots of money. And I mean a lot of money. Talk about like $500+ for some decks. Get this out. Fucking try me. Bitch. I said don't try me. Oh. Pretty much, you dump hundreds of dollars into this meta deck only for it to get hit. Like, gosh, for real? There was a ban list at one point, an emergency ban list. Oh shit. It's gonna lock me down and banish anything on normal summon. Until the next standby phase, okay. Sorry for all the rambling, but There was an emergency ban list that hit before a certain big tournament in Europe. This bitch really being a bitch. Fucking what? God damn it. In Europe, a big tournament was about to go down, and a certain deck was just running an absolute muck. Running an absolute muck. And I guess it got so bad to the point to where people needed to ban said deck. They ended up, emergency ban list hit, and they banned a lot of cards in the deck. So people over in Europe spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars Alright, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm beating this fucker's ass. I'm sick and tired of all this stall shit. Like, literally, you're about to just get your ass whooped. Not the fucking story deck. Story deck's fucking annoying. Anyways, bans a crap ton of cards. Many people angry because they're out of hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And game low-key stupid. They banned a lot of the cards that I liked, and then they hit everything else. From that point on, I sort of just started losing feels for this game. Okay, we get it. You're trying to stall me out. Get your shit summoned, whatever. This isn't really gonna work with me because I have trump cards. Woo. Cause fuck your back row. Oh, okay, that's when it's normal summon, so I can just get rid of that shit. And then... boop. Get that back. Feeling like I can actually get rid of all these cards. Okay. Bitch. Oh my god, these bitches. Doing all this because I have no use for any of this. Do. Gosh. This is just making my stuff all weird. Lots of looping with this deck. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. I'm just gonna chillax and play. I am back. This is the draw phase activated card effect. I'm just gonna attack and make this quick. I think this is the one guy that uses the monkey 8-bet thing. Oh, yep. And then each of these dark signers have a special dark signer card. Ah, yes. Very, very, very fun. Two setups this turn. Huh? Moja. Interesting. Let's pretty much choose 3 cards that will be very useful to me. Because I have a Call of the Haunted, so whatever goes to the grave I can special summon. And then I can have 1 card in hand, whilst having the 3rd card that's in grave be fodder for this big guy right here. Perfect. Let's see what he summons. We'll activate this. We'll get the force pop off. Because I don't want to lose Tin Can just yet. Cards in your hand or graveyard in the face of these starts true. Already happened. We can attack in. Just gonna let it happen because we don't. I don't want to lose Dark Lady. See? Don't want to lose Dark Lady, no reason to. Get rid of that. If this is done right, then this will be game. Fucking destroy my spawn trap cards, why won't you? Ah, yes, even more plus I see. And this is game. Doo-doo-doo-doo. That's cute. How to destroy it 101 without even so much as touching it. How to OTK 101? Question mark? Just for the little extra DP, or BP, whatever you want to call it, on the surrender. Just for the extra DP, you know? There's a way that you can pretty much farm DP in this. It's called dual points, whatever. Which is what I was using to buy a lot of those packs yesterday. I believe I was streaming while I did it. I'll go first, just to be nice. Ooh, interesting. Interesting opening hand. But I'm thinking I'm doing is, because I've already got a nice setup going here. So for now, just, we don't have Call the Haunted, so I'm usually doing this Dark Planet in this because deck thinning, just to get out of the way. Either I get it in my hand or whatever. I just want to set up for these pilots that I have while going into the ships. Okay. Ah, he runs Infernity. Sweet. It's always nice. He has a hand, so it won't matter. Because Infernity works off the fact that you have to have no hand. We are going to destroy this. Loop out this tin can, which is probably our last one. Yeah, it is. When I think about it. So, we're gonna try set up with a little mix of pilots and ships. With this deck, you usually know when you want to pick certain kinds of cards depending on your hand. Grave and Banished. You'll know when you want to do certain things, such as this is just cover card to get attack. Yeah. That sucks, because I think that just bought him another turn. Yeah, I just bought him another turn. This could be a problem depending on what he draws, because he'll have no hand. Ah, yes. Now I believe he can pop off. Now's when he stalls. Jeez. Got a buzzkill. I'm gonna recycle this back in the deck. Get this back in the deck and hope we don't draw it. Sweet, didn't draw it. Hope we draw a dark monster. Sweet, drew one. Draw 2 cards we need. Actually, very sweet. Because Going to demonstrate what an Infernity does. I hate this little pop-up thing, but I can't change it. I want his Infernity deck, so... Once again, set up. Gucci like the hoggles. Get this David down. Go what? And then GG. Sweet. Ending the stream here.